أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم اجعل ببارا ولسارا وشكارا وسكدارا وأولاد أبرارا واجعل عند قبر نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا قرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء. تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء وعداه بالفناء والعدم، كما قال عز شان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت، وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزم عنه معص العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خير يرى ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يرى نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يؤدب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينته النجاة واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وعروة الوثقى فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to adopt the taqwa of Allah as is the best of provisions. The verse that I recited, a famous verse from chapter 49, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I have chosen this verse before as well and recited on one aspect of this ayah, and that was the taqwa aspect of it. Today, in this khutbah, I wanted to address another aspect of this ayah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins by addressing, O mankind, indeed we have created you from a male and a female and made you nations and tribes so that you may recognize and identify yourselves with one another. The most honorable among you in the sight of Allah is the most pious of you, and God is all-knowing and all-aware. Once again, an ayat which contains numerous subjects within itself, and that's the beauty of Quran. That when you look at each and every single ayat of Quran, it talks about variety of topics, variety of subjects, in its entirety in short ayat such as this one. It's an all-encompassing ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses all of mankind, not just those who are the believers or a specific group of religiosity, rather all of the mankind. That we created you. Why? Because the creation of insan is not based on their religious aspect. Rather, creation of insan emerges from one father and one mother in the form of Hazrat Adam and Hazrat Hawa alayhim as-salatu was-salam. We see that this verse is recited quite often. And when you have the discussion regarding unity, this verse is amongst the leading ayat of Quran, which is chosen for that particular reason. Tabarani, in his Tafsir al-Kabir, mentions that this verse was revealed for a person in Quraysh who, after hearing Hazrat Bilal, the muazzin of Rasul Akram, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, after he heard the adhan recited by Hazrat Bilal, he made this comment. He said, Ama wajada Muhammad muazzinan ghayr hadha al-ghurab. He said, did Muhammad not find anyone else to give the adhan other than this crow? So the word ghurab was used. We have the bird crow flying around, and usually this is as a derogatory sentence to put someone down and speak to someone in a discriminatory tone. So this ayat, one of the misdaq is that this ayat was revealed. That when you look at people in our surrounding, they may be different color of skin, they may speak a different language, they may look different than you. But that is for your own identification, so that you're able to identify one another apart. And that is the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you in different tribes and nations, and as you mentioned in the ayat, qabail and shurub. And that is the main purpose. So don't be surprised if you see someone who looks different. And that is the beauty of the land of opportunity that we live in, where you have all these different cultures, you have all these different people from different parts of the world, all these different ethnicities that exist right here in one place. And so we become accustomed to different people, different color of skin, different religions, and it is nothing out of norm for us. When we run into someone from another part of the world who looks different to us, well, you don't really see, or at least here in northeastern part of the United States, even those who we are by our face easily told that we are immigrants, but those who are born and raised here, the white and the black Americans, when they look at people from different parts of the world, even they're not surprised anymore. Why? Because they're not been living with them for a long, long time. People have immigrated from all over the world to this part of the world. And therefore, it's not a matter of surprise for them when they see a foreigner walking around, something which is ordinary for them, because it's something which is common, has been there for a long, long time. But you go to some other countries, and even that to add Muslim countries, and because they don't have that great deal of immigration over there, when they see people of different color skin and they look differently and speaking different language walking around, my God, you'll be surprised with the discrimination that is done. Due to you are a Muslim, why should you be speaking this way? And we see that this is because they have not been able to, they have not lived with others for a long, long time, and they haven't been able to experience this sort of phenomena. Whereas over here, it's something which is very common. So the word shu'ub is the plural for sha'ab, which means a large group of people. Qabail is a plural for qabila, which is a tribe. What's the difference between the two? Mufassirin have mentioned different reasons. Some believe that the circle of sha'ab is wider than qabila. The shu'ub encompasses even different qabail within itself. So sha'ab is used for nation these days. When they refer to different nations, they don't refer to as qabila or tribe. They refer to as sha'ab these days, are referred to as nation, which is of course has a bigger concept. Some refer to sha'ab as a group of non-Arabs and qabila as Arabs. This was also a distinction that Arabs were always referred to as qabila or qabail. This is from our qabila because he's Arab. Non-Arabs were referred to as shu'ub or sha'ab. Lastly, some have taken the meaning of sha'ab on the geographical basis, where qabila means based on ethnical base. These are, of course, different interpretations of the mufassirin. Meaning of being created from one male and one female, which is the essence of the discussion, though, that there shouldn't exist any sort of discrimination. There shouldn't exist any sort of derogatory tone when you're speaking to another individual, regardless of how different they may look than you or what language that they may speak from you. Because the root of all is Adam and Eve. And since everyone has the same root, there's no reason for one taking pride over the other, that I'm better, I'm superior because of my geographical background, my ethnicity, color of my skin, and any of those nonsenses. God has created different qualities for all the tribes, so the social system is protected, and these differences come about amongst the people so that they can recognize one another. Imagine living in a place where everyone looked the same. It will create a great deal of hardship. I don't know how these birds tell each other apart, how these animals tell each other apart, which they look exactly the same. But again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must have created or has created a system for them, so they're able to distinguish that this is not my child, this is my child, although they all look the same. For us, all these deer, especially in this part of the county in Somerset, where there's a lot of deer running around in your backyard. I'm sure many of you have seen, even laying on the side of the street dead. Every single day I come this route, 10 minutes drive from me, I see 4 or 5 deer every single day, unfortunately. So many deer, you can't tell apart them. Of course, there's slight difference between 1 or 2, but it's very difficult. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must have created a mechanism for them to be able to tell apart amongst the different animals. But for us, they all look the same. Imagine if that was the case when it comes to humans. All of us looked the same way. So some of us consider this verse to be connected with the previous 2 verses, since mocking others and backbiting is the result of one seeing himself or herself as superior to others. So previous 2 ayat of this chapter talked about, don't call people by name, don't ridicule one another. The concept of ghibat was discussed. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. All of that discussions were in the previous two ayat of this chapter of Hujurat, Surah Hujurat, chapter 49. Leading up to all of those, after that discussion comes this ayat. So there's a connection between all of these ayat that, don't backbite, don't mock others. This is the result of one seeing himself as superior. The moment you start thinking of yourself to be superior, what does that lead to? That leads to you to go out and think of others as inferior. And of course, you start bringing out different aspects of different people, which existed then based on the color of their skin or their ethnicities. This verse also points out three important principles. Number one, the principle of equality in the creation of man and woman. Principle of difference between tribe and groups, and the principle of superiority of taqwa. Yes, if there is a concept which makes you superior to someone else, is taqwa. Other than that, there isn't really any concept. The fact that you're Muslim, the fact that you're mu'min, the fact that, no, taqwa is something which is going to make you superior than anyone else. Even the fact that you're Muslim is not going to make you superior. So here we see that although in other verses, Quran gives edge to the people with knowledge, experience, trustworthiness, abilities, and even migration. So in other ayat of Quran, you'll find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this group of people are better. Why? Because of their ilm. This group of people is better. Why? Because they migrated. This group of people is better because they possess certain physical qualities. Those attributes are mentioned, but it still does not give them the means to take pride in. The only moment that you're allowed to take pride is when you are when you are equipped with this taqwa. So for example, migration was criteria where God compared the two groups with their beliefs before and after migration. Surah Anfal, ayat number 72. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يُحَاجِرُوا مَا لَكُمْ مِنْ وَلَايَتِهِمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى يُحَاجِرُوا. So it says, of course, Surah Anfal, talking about the booty of war, things that are acquired in war, mali ghanima. So there's a lot of discussion of the battles. Those who believe and have emigrated and struggled with their possession, that's one group. And their souls in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those who have given refuge and helped those are friends of one another. So that's one group. Those who emigrated, and of course there are the muhajirin, the ansar helping them. They are put in one category. They're equal. And those who believe, they have also brought iman, but have not emigrated. You have no duty of friendship towards them until they emigrate. So immigration at that time was mandatory. Some people declined to immigrate. They said, we don't want to emigrate. We don't want to go through with this. We don't want to leave Makkah and go to Medina. Rasul said, let's go. So mentioning that those who emigrated and those who received them, because they struggled with their what? They left everything behind. They left their possessions, their crops, their fields, their houses, their possessions, their property. They left everything behind for the sake of Allah and for the sake of Islam, so that their religion could be safeguarded. They left. Allah said, this is a different category of people, as opposed to those who weren't mu'min. They brought iman as long as they were in Makkah, but they did not come out with us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is drawing a distinction between the two groups. What's the difference? Both have brought iman. One chooses to leave, one does not choose to leave. Allah says no. And those who believe but have not emigrated, or Rasul, you have no duty of friendship towards them. Don't worry about it. Let them be. We will take care of those people. So being a man and a woman or from certain tribe and nation is not the matter of pride. This is how Allah deemed it to be. He designed it that way. So don't take pride if you belong to a certain caste system or certain ethnicity. The difference that is seen in people of various places, from appearance, color, ethnicity, is all based on the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we can recognize one another. It's not a matter of pride and taking honor. Quran denounces all types of discriminations, ethnical, national, tribal, economical, cultural, and social. The only criterion for virtue is what? Taqwa, and nothing more than that. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. to bring you towards the conclusion, it says, Inna Allah, in a hadith and a tradition from the Prophet, Inna Allah la yanduru ila ahsabikum, wala ila ansabikum, wala ila atsamikum, wala ila amwalikum. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at your status, your lineage, your family, nor does He look at your wealth and your bodies. These aren't the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking for. وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ فَمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ قَلْبٌ صَالِحٌ تَحَنَّنَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَإِنَّمَا أَنْتُمْ بَنُو آدَمَ وَحَبُّكُمْ إِلَيْهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. But what does He look at? He looks at your hearts. Remember those ayat of Surah Hajj, where the discussion of sacrificial animal is? It says, La yanal Allah luhumuha wala dima'uha. The flesh and the blood does not reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What reaches? Oh Allah, I sacrifice, I spend money, $500. That's how much it costs over there for a sacrificial animal. They hike up the prices over there because everybody needs a sacrificial animal. Without it, your qurbani is not done. And our Marathis say, majority of them, that the qurbani has to be done over there in Mina. You can't say, well, I'll do qurbani somewhere else where it's cheaper. I can get qurbani done in Pakistan or India for $100, for example. I'll do qurbani over there. I'll do 2 qurbanis over there. No, you have to do it in Mina. Now, why? It's getting into the hands of these Wahhabis. Well, that's the recommendations that we have. So therefore, you have to do qurbani over there. So they hike up the prices. This is the price. Take it or leave it. So you end up doing the qurbani. So I spent so much money for this sacrificial animal. Allah says, La lan yanal Allah luhumuha wala dima'uha. The flesh and the blood, the meat of this animal that you've sacrificed is not reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then what is? وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. What reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether the fact that you spend $500 on an animal or $100 on an animal, is the taqwa when you are presenting this qurbani to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Hajj is all but symbolism. When you're striking these stones, shaitan, with stones, non-Muslims, I remember a few years ago when Hajj was being documented and it was being covered by the media outlets like CNN and other BBC and whatnot. And they were showing that, today Muslims are moving towards Mina and they're striking the symbolic, shaitan. While they're mentioning all that, you read the comments, people saying, oh, these people, they're backwards. They live in the Stone Age. They're striking, these pillars. What's wrong with these people? Well, it's all symbolism. It's not the actions that are being performed. Of course, it's very difficult to explain, but this is where we need to explain some of our practices. Don't just remain silent. Let others mock what your duties and what you're doing. Every one of these things has a biblical and, Old Testament and New Testament talks about all of this stuff. This has historical background associated with it. You can easily explain to them that all of this is symbolism, symbolic to what we are doing. We're striking the pillar, but we're striking the shaitan in our nafs inside of us. That's what the symbolic aspect of this Hajj is. So even that qurbani that you're giving, which is an obligatory aspect of it, Allah says the flesh and blood is not reaching me. What reaches me is your heart and the taqwa that is with it. Salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So Allah doesn't look at your status, lineage, your family, your bodies, your wealth, but He looks at your hearts. One who possesses a righteous heart, Allah is compassionate and merciful towards him. You are all children of Adam. The most beloved near Allah are those who are most pious. So there are, I said this will be the end of it. There are certain types of prides which are permissible, areas where you're allowed. There's something which we call healthy pride. There's unhealthy pride, and then there's a healthy pride. Healthy pride represents positive notion of self-worth. Meaning what? It's based on a history where personal effort and expenditure of energy led to success. Something which we, encourage that yes, if it is something which is going to go ahead and lead you towards success, this is what healthy pride is. Opposite of this is the unhealthy pride, which depicts an overly favorable evaluation of self. And I think to an extent, every single one of us possess that. Based on giving oneself too much credit for accomplishments that typically may be rather modest. बहुत ही मामूली सा काम किया, too much, make it too much out of it. Right away, if you make too much out of it, some people will understand that it is only done out of encouragement, but many it'll go below their heads up. They'll make them hot-headed, conceited. They'll be, okay, well, I've achieved something big. This is where the unhealthy pride is. Healthy pride is expressed in an assertive fashion, and it's most often conveyed implicitly inside. It's not open where you're showing off. It's implicit. It is quiet, self-assured, affirmation of one's capabilities. I'm capable of doing this, but within myself. It's not out open in the public, making it to be. These days, it's very difficult to keep anything out of the view of public. Why? Because we have all these social media outlets. Facebook, you go ahead and put up your achievements. Twitter, other means of media, you go ahead and, oh, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that, I've done Fidaram Sultan Booth. All these things are mentioned on it. On the contrary, unhealthy pride is a far more aggressive, explicit declaration, not of competence as such, but of personal superiority. And people, when they're posting these things, it's not so much that they're, encouraging others. It's majority of the time, it's just to show personal superiority. As understood by the experts, healthy pride relates to a person's acting pro-socially. This is also the concept of Islam, which is talking about Amr bil Maruf and Nahi anil Munkar, or watawasaw bil haqqi watawasaw bis sabr. Not keeping something individual. We're not here to pray individual namaz. We're here to pray jama'at in congregation, including other pro-socially. On the contrary, unhealthy pride links to what's generally deemed antagonistic, antisocial, rule-breaking behaviors. I don't want to be working with this party or this group or that group. Those with healthy pride motivate and inspire others to take their lead and join them. I'm doing something, I want you to be part of it. You guys know better than me, those who are in management, those who are running these corporate and working in the corporate field in management, you guys know more than me. This is how you build a team around you. You encourage, you bring them on board, you join. Yeah, the places where there are mistakes that have to be highlighted, of course, there are, checks and balances. You can't afford to have mistakes all the time. So you do keep a very tight leash, but at the same time, you motivate others, you inspire them. Compare this to individual and unhealthy pride who tend to lord it over others. They don't want to share their successes, but rather do everything possible to make sure that no one trespasses them. I'm the only one that should be mentioned at the end of the day and no one else. Finally, healthy pride, unlike the unhealthy variety, is egocentric. And that's why those with such pride can take pride not just in their own accomplishment, but also in those of others. It's very difficult these days to see people go ahead and appreciate others of what they have done. They can be proud of their children, their spouse, their parents, their friends, their students, anyone whom they identify as showing the ability to advance themselves or others by putting forth their best efforts. And some of the time, we might be saying, oh, no, we encourage others. We are providing this sort of environment which is healthy, but the same thing is lacking at the very basic level in their own houses, in their own homes, where the spouses are not appreciated enough, or the children are not appreciated enough. I ran out of my time because the Zawal time is around 11:42. And according to Sistani, we should be able to finish both the khutbahs and the salat within the 45 minutes of it. In order for us to avoid, or salatul dhuhr, in order for it to become saqit, we have to finish it within the 45 minutes. But if it goes beyond 45 minutes, then along with salatul jum'ah, it is that you should also perform salatul dhuhr. So whenever you see that we have gone past 45 minutes from zawal on jum'ah, after salatul jum'ah, you should also offer dhuhr prayer. We usually give time in between our salatul jum'ah and asr prayer, 10 minutes gap, so that people can go ahead and perform salatul dhuhr as well. But the fatwa is that usually the followers at Sistani, that when you pray salatul jum'ah with all the conditions that are fulfilled, and hopefully all the conditions are fulfilled over here, then namaz dhuhr is saqit, You don't have to pray namaz al-dhuhr. But if it goes beyond 45 minutes from its time of inception, then Salat al-Dhuhr should also be offered. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to follow these commands of Quran and the ayat and the ahkam that are mentioned by Ma'asumeen in regards to the differences that exist between us, that the only matter of pride should be piety and nothing else. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our great Imam and make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers from Inna Asal Hadith. وأبلغ الموعظة كتاب الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا اله الا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم. سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة. سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا الا دون وسعها وفاني السيئات ولم يجاز بها. سبحان من لا يزداد ولا معاصي لبعد الا كرما وجودا ولا كثر الذنوب الا عفوا وسوف. نشهد ان لا اله الا هو لطوف على العباد بجوده والأفضل على المذنبين بحلمه. ونشهد ان محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين. لقد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا للصفي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن حسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليه الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاصد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام. اللهم عجل فرجا وسائل مخرجا واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمراء المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات. اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أحلو ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أحلو بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. تكروا فتنفوا ذكرنا الحي بالذات والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة
وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر ربنا افرغ علينا الصبر وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر.
إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واستغفر الله الذي لا اله الا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والاكرام واتوب اليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Allah. Allah. Let's recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah. It is the families of Mr. and Mrs. Musa Abbas and Nabil Abbas. Please ask your father for their one as well as the one from Mr. No. So, very quickly, brother of Dr. Manzoor Rizvi and Said Dr. Rizvi passed away earlier today in Pune, India. Email was sent out to Marhum Sayyid Tehzeeb Hussain Rizvi, Ibn Maulana Sayyid Hamid Hussain Rizvi. He was also buried today in India. There's a request for Surah Fatiha for him, and as well as Namaze Hadiya Mayyat after Salatul Maghrib. The family has organized a majlis for his Salat Salat. Surah is tomorrow at Mehfil Shah after Namaz Maghrib. So those who can, please do attend. So please recite Surah Fatiha for the recorded surah. Announcement, Rutgers Grad Student Association is organizing an event titled Polarized Islam and Targeted Surveillance. Are You Being Watched? Which will take place on November 22nd, it's a Monday, November 22nd, at 8 p.m. College Avenue Student Center, multipurpose room. They're requesting your attendance. Chef Fayaz Jafar will be featuring as a speaker there, amongst others. So this coming Monday at College Avenue Student Center, November 22nd, 8 p.m. Please do attend this program. And let's recite dua sehat for all of those people who are in need of dua, suffering, struggling, going through difficult times, physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them out of this difficulty, give them full recovery, especially remembering Brother Majid Musu and others in the community who are currently going through difficult times. Let's recite 5 times this ayat from Surah Al-Mulk together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Aman. اللهم قليلا ما تذكرون. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل، حي على خير العمل، قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. يا محسن قد تعالى المحسن وأنت المحسن وأنا المحسن فقد أمرت المحسن أن يتجاوز عن المحسن فتجاوز عن قبيح وعن بجميل. الله أكبر،
الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام. وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد كريم خاف فقير بائس مسكين مستقيم مستجير لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشفى ومن قلب لا يخشى ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع ومن دعاء لا يسمع. اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر والفرج بعد الكرب والرخاء بعد الشدة. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا نبي الله. السلام عليك يا حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك وعلى جدك وأبيك وعلى أمك وأخيك ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس وعليك النفوس أيها المدفون بعبد موسى بن موسى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أعوانك وانصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Takbir. Allahu Akbar.